The price of electricity up 10,000% during the Texas blackout. No doubt everybody has been following the story of the massive blackout that's going on in Texas right now. We've seen all kinds of absolutely insane footage, outright media lies. We've seen a lot of these buildings in Texas that were purposely, cut corners in order to save money. They were not winterized. Now, obviously, Texas does not usually get like very intense winters, so you can make the argument that winterization wasn't necessary. But if you look at the amount of damage that some of these buildings are taking and the fact that so many of them were not even insulated in the least. I mean, some of these like smaller like business buildings, I mean, all of the plaster and the drywall is completely crumbling through as some of the water veins in the ceilings have busted. I mean, I've seen images, and I'll see if I can put some of these up here for you guys. I've seen images of like ice coming, like huge sickles of ice coming down through the ceilings from busted water veins, completely like just water dripping as it gets into a somewhat warmer climate, and then just completely deteriorates the insides of these buildings. These power outages are going on throughout all of Texas, and obviously there's been a huge cold spell all throughout the country. I think everyone's seen this image here of police guarding a couple of dumpsters outside of a Fred Hampton's in Portland. I believe they also had a series of rolling blackouts or brownouts where they lost power, and the grocery chain ended up throwing out all this food instead of distributing it to a community that has, a huge homeless problem during the middle of winter. They threw it in the dumpster, and when they got word that people were trying to dumpster dive in it, they called the police, and there's literally police sitting outside of a dumpster guarding it to make sure that people don't get the food that was being thrown out anyway. I think we've all seen the Zodiac killer here, Ted Cruz, taking his family on vacation amid a literal natural disaster in Texas, doing absolutely nothing. He doesn't give a fuck. And I thought this meme right here was pretty funny. Heroic Ted Cruz goes to Cancun to lasso the sun and bring it back to Texas. So, by now, all of us have kind of gotten the story and seen what's going on. And I think most of us know why this is happening. I think we've seen probably the Fox News article here talking about how this power outage was due to wind turbines freezing in the winter. And then, of course, the internet's just eating that up, the absolutely ridiculous lies that always come out of Fox News. This one especially brazen, posting images of wind turbines in Antarctica and in Alaska. But now, of course, there's more news coming out of Texas. Not only are they going through this natural disaster, not only like in this image here, are they lighting and heating empty skyscrapers and empty hotel buildings while they can't heat and light the homes of, regular people's working class neighborhoods. Not only that, but now they're doing a serious price gouging on electricity. And the reason why this is because, as I'm sure a lot of you already know, Texas's power grid is completely separate from the rest of the continental U.S. and Canada. So on the East Coast, you have like one interconnected series of energy grids. So like if one region goes out, like say we have a power outage here in Iowa, you can siphon electricity from Illinois or Minnesota to get things going back online, especially during like harsh winters so that people don't freeze. And it's a similar situation on the West Coast. Now, Texas back in the 90s privatized their energy grid, right? And in order so that these energy companies could make more money, and they pitched it to the conservative base of the state, saying this is Texas liberation. Texas is always about seceding and being their own independent republic. This is about Texas independence and self-sovereignty, and we don't need to be part of this energy grid. That's how conservative legislators in Texas pitched this to Texans, and so that they would have their independent energy grid. But in reality, it was so that they could completely deregulate energy production there. And as a result of this deregulation, now we've seen energy prices go through the roof as electricity becomes more scarce. And actually, I have this tweet right here from a Richard D. Wolf, and I thought this was pretty on point in regards to Texas' unregulated energy grid and the results of it. It says Texas has unregulated private capitalist energy system, unlike the rest of the United States, and failed in the cold. Far less power generated, so prices rose from $26 to $1,489 per megawatt hour. Only the richest can pay, the rest froze. Private market capitalism in Texas equals total fiasco. Now, I just thought that was completely on point. And I actually have this image right here of a guy who still got his electric bill, even though he hasn't been able to run electricity or heat for the last few days. And it's like an exorbitant price. And I've also seen, some other images of like a hotel that was normally like, probably $150 to $300 a night. Now, because of this catastrophe, charging $1,499. And all of this, the failed energy grid, the price gouging. I mean, we've seen similar things in the pharmaceutical industry, like with the monopolization of like insulin and things like that. This price gouging is a perfect example of why capitalism fails. Okay. And the bottom line is this. If it is necessary for human life, if it is necessary for modern human life in the 21st century, in the digital age, it should not be privatized. Because not only is that morally bankrupt, privatizing medicine, privatizing energy, okay, heat, warmth, shelter, food, water, privatizing these things isn't only wrong to turn a profit off of human beings for something that they need to live. It's not only wrong, it's a crime against humanity. Literally. And I made a post on our Facebook page a few days ago talking about, 200, 300 years from now, right? Human beings will look back on 21st century human beings, on our economic systems and our energy grids and our modes of production and consumption. And they will see what our systems were. They will see them for what they were, which is crimes against humanity. They will see the perpetuation of wealth inequality as an atrocity. And you can imagine a scenario where professors are sitting and teaching children about 21st century, probably America in particular, because it's just this perfect microcosm on a global scale of the wrongs and evils of capitalism. And you can just see professors 200 years from now talking about the collapse of the American empire and how their corroded capitalist system and wealth inequality led to their demise. And you can just see them talking to students about how barbaric and savage and ass backwards the capitalist modes of production were. And how, people could live in glass and in ivory towers with wealth beyond wildest dreams, living like kings from fairy tales, while the vast majority of human beings lived in squalor. And they will talk about the United States government and the state and the federal level, about how they completely failed us during crisis. And that was a direct result of the polluting aspects of capitalism. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you. Just wanted to run a quick video, try to keep it short this time. I know I tend to ramble on, think out loud, as the name of the show is. I wanted to share this with you guys. And, this is obviously a humanitarian crisis. But I just wanted to point out how absolutely insane it is. How absolutely insane it is in the grand scheme of things. And it's completely unacceptable. But anyway, guys, that's all I have. I'm just thinking out loud. And as always, I love you very much. And I'll speak with you again soon. Bye.